Hey, everybody, welcome into another special live edition of the Sooner Spotlight, your all access pass for all things Oklahoma Sooners athletics. Extremely excited to be here live with you guys. Make sure to jump down in the chat, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. As always, you can follow me over on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Real Josh Mahler for all updates on the show and so much more. Of course, hit that notification bell as well if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so that way you can stay tuned for any time that we do have these live shows. The live shows will always be different times, guys. They're going to be pre-game and post-game. Post-game, I'm going to try to do on Sundays. That's our goal here, so we might end up moving that around. So just hit that notification bell. That way you know. Or if you follow me over on X, formerly known as Twitter, then you'll be able to check me out over there. And we're trying to get a community built here, not just come here and bring you guys stuff. We want to see you guys in the chat. We want to be able to talk with you guys. So far, I see William down there in the chat. He says, "Howdy, Josh. How you doing, William?" Yeah, and the Sooners did look mighty good, and we're going to get to that. We're going to talk about the Sooners, everything that they've done. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and dive right into it, guys. It was a pretty fun atmosphere. It was the first time that the Oklahoma Sooners took the field as an SEC team. That was pretty special. That was something that I think we were all ready for, and you could tell that the entire stadium was ready for this team to come out as an SEC team for the first time. And it was electrifying. The entire layout of the campus beforehand, the tailgating was much bigger, much more packed than usual, which was very odd because I thought we're probably not going to have very many fans show up to a Friday night game. That's just the reality of it, especially when high school football is going to be going on. Some high schools did kind of tune their schedules to the Oklahoma schedule, so they kind of changed it, made some Thursday night and Saturday night games instead. But overall, yeah, very, very shocked to see as many people as early as there were, because the game started at 6. When I was down there around 2, there were already plenty of people that were down there and just packed all over the stadium, down through Campus Corner. It was a very fun atmosphere, very different feeling than what we had before. So that was definitely something. If you haven't been to the game, or if you weren't to this last game, make sure you get down there this year and show some support, because, man, like it's definitely different. If you've been before, you'll understand what I mean whenever you get there. The stadium was roaring. The stadium, it felt like, was on their feet more the entire game. Just the excitement in the air, you could feel it. And there may have been one or two beer cans thrown for absolutely no reason, which is total SEC behavior, but that's not the type of SEC behavior that we condone here on this show. But the energy level, that's what we want to see. Just do it in more polite ways instead of throwing your beer can, because I know it's landed on like kids up in front of you. That was terrible. But outside of that, man, the atmosphere there was absolutely fun. My friend Jay, his name's Jay Smith over with Unfair Sports. If you guys are into Sooners content, he's got one of the best channels. He'll actually be on this week to talk about some more Sooners football. Kind of looking forward to Houston here coming up soon. But let's just kind of get into our thoughts about the game and how the team looked, because the atmosphere doesn't matter as much as what the actual product on the field was. So let's get into what the product looked like. And ultimately, I mean, it looked amazing. I think many of us can probably tell, by looking at the score, that it was good. Overall thoughts, let's start off with the thing that mattered the most. This is a difference-making defense. Absolutely electric the entire game long. And we were even talking about this in the pregame show, talking about, it's okay to let up some garbage points. That's probably going to happen, but you know what? That's all right. But when we look at what actually happened, that didn't happen. We let up one garbage field goal, and you know what? It was almost an interception that kept it away from Billy Bowman. We'll probably talk about that a little bit, but this defense was absolutely electric, and I absolutely love what I saw from them all game long, from start to finish. And that's what we need. We need a defense. We were expecting to lean on this defense the entire season anyways. So why even worry about anything else? Just focus on this defense. It was amazing. 6 takeaways. That was 2 interceptions, almost 3 because Billy Bowman did drop an interception. Man, I don't know. Do you guys think that was an interception? Because from what I saw, and I kept on looking at it, I don't really know how you rule that, because I felt like he caught it He tucked it into his chest. He didn't make a football move, so I don't know if that's what they're considering needs to be. But when he came down, his elbow hit first, and then the ball came out. So is he down, and that's actually an interception? Personally, I feel like that has to be an interception for us. But anyways, almost a third interception. There was 2 interceptions and 4 fumble recoveries, and it was absolutely amazing. Our starters looked absolutely amazing. I don't think there was a single starter that I wasn't impressed with, other than Peyton Bowen. Not impressed with him, but there wasn't anything bad that happened from him. You know, he just kind of filled in his role, didn't really get in there and get involved too much, which I was shocked that he was even on the starting lineup for this game one anyways. So it was a lot of fun. You can see over there some of the footage that was taken at the game, some of the pictures and stuff like that taken at the game. Some of these were my photos, my videos. Some of them giving credit over to the Oklahoma and what they do over there. Some great photos, great atmosphere there, and the Toby Keith sing along between the third and fourth quarter. That was awesome. That was definitely something that, man, if you weren't there, make sure to go to a game, because I think they're doing either that or something similar throughout the season. So absolutely, that was so fun, and I really loved that. And I'm sure Toby Keith is looking down with a smile on his face, knowing that Sooner Nation still loves him, and he's going to live on through Sooner Nation. But man, the defense looked absolutely amazing. And you know what? Let's jump over to the offense before I dive too deep into it. Looking at the offense, it was just meh. All right, it wasn't great and it wasn't bad. Overall, when you look at the offense, what I want you guys to realize, and this is what, before the game was, like at halftime, Jay and I went to the game together. We were sitting there, we were talking, and I was like, I think the game plan was, let's just go in here, play it cool, walk away with the win. Tell the guys, hey, we're not trying to go for big plays. Tell Jackson Arnold, if there's an open man downfield, that's okay. You don't have to take that. You don't have to risk anything. And another thing was the game plan felt like they were trying to get him over the middle, get some quick passes, get a ball completed, a reception completed right there in the middle of the field in the congestion. That's what we want to see from you, Jackson. And, it also felt like they told a lot of the starters in the first 2-3 quarters, hey, if you get hit, just go down. Don't try breaking tackles. Don't try being fancy and having all these juke moves to get yourself hurt. Just be smart. Get in, get out of this game. We're gonna cover. All right, we're gonna make sure of it. That's what it felt like. And sure enough, when the press conference came, Brent Venables did talk about how this entire game plan kind of fell around just get in there, get out. Be very vanilla. Yeah, that was the game plan. Jackson Arnold even said something about we won 51-3, didn't we? Like, what are we freaking out about? Because I think a lot of Oklahoma fans look at how we looked on offense, and they're so concerned because we only put up 51 points, and it really wasn't a lot of chunk plays. It was a lot of very medium plays, but that was the game plan the whole time. All right, so just realize that. Stop freaking out. Stop thinking that this was just a bad run for the offense, and just step back. Realize that that's what it was. All right, it's okay. We are going to look better. We are going to look like a top-notch offense, at least a B-plus offense. All right, and I'm going to give my grades for what I saw on Friday night. I wanted to say Saturday night, but it was Friday night. I want to give my grades and everything, but ultimately this was great. First of all, Deion Burks, he's the real deal. We'll get to him in just a second, but I do need to see improvement on third down. The offensive line had some question marks. We'll get to that in a minute. But third down, we were 0 for 11 on third down until Taylor Tatum scored a touchdown on third down on that last drive for the Oklahoma Sooners. 0 for 11. We went 1 for 12 total in the game. That was atrocious. I don't care if we're vanilla. We have to find a way to complete third down, especially whenever there was some 3rd and 4 in there, some 3rd and medium. We have to complete third down against Temple. That is inexcusable. I hate that. But another bright side for Oklahoma, getting away from that, we played 84 players. 84. All right, so, this was absolutely amazing. I loved to see that many guys get in on the field and get some quality playing time. There was a ton. So, you know what? I was super ecstatic with that. But let's go ahead and jump over to the defense. Again, everybody, if you're tuning in, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and comment down in the live chat as well. I would love to see your guys' comments. The pregame show was electric. I had too many comments to even get to, so please comment down below. Who was a starter? Who was just a player that you'd like to give a shout out to? Because I will absolutely shout out many players. I've got many players on my notes today to get to, some specific players. So give me one player that you'd like me to shout out down in the comments, a player that you thought just played outstanding all game long, because there's some that I'm not going to get to. So please shout out a player down below in the live chat. But let's get to this defense and give them a grade. Overall, you can't be mad at this defense. I saw some grades from other media and kind of giving this defense maybe like a B minus. I'm giving this defense an A. I mean, you don't get much better other than maybe scoring a defensive touchdown. I'm not sure if you can consider the scoop and score a defensive touchdown or not, but that's special teams. That wasn't defense. So I don't think you can count that. So that's the only thing I can say. I was really hoping that we would see a defensive score, but I called for two turnovers. I said, you know what? I just want to see 2 turnovers. Guess what? We had that. I think we had 3 in the first quarter. We had 6 total turnovers on defense. That's amazing. You can't get mad at this defense at all. I'm giving them an A. I love what I saw on defense. Some of the stats, we forced 4 for 13 on third down. I love that. Maybe we can notch that down to 1 for 13 against Houston. But you know what? I like what we did on third down. We closed out. There was a couple of chunk plays that got them the first down here and there. And overall, that's okay. Most of those chunk plays were some small broken things on defense, maybe in the secondary more than anything. And there was a lot of man coverage that we would run that would leave some of these sweeps and screens open too. And I will give Temple credit. They blocked their hearts out. And, whenever they were going out there to block for a screen or a bubble pass, any of those short behind-the-line passes, the jet sweeps, they blocked very well. And a huge shout-out to guys like Ethan Downs, Danny Stutzman. There's definitely some others in there that broke through tackles. There was one I remember we were just in awe the way that Danny broke through and had a guy hanging on him as he reached around with his other arm to bring a guy down for a tackle. So huge shout-out to Danny Stutzman. That was a guy that I didn't have down in my notes, but I'll get to him throughout the season plenty. This was game 1 where we had a lot of backups in, so I want to get to some of the reserves and some of the guys that were starters that won't necessarily be starters later on. So let's start off with Dominic Williams, because I see William, he said the D-line. I'm going to get to some guys on the D-line for sure. Starting off with Dominic Williams, that guy in the middle, he was a force to be reckoned with, absolutely. He was bullying that interior line like crazy, and that's what we want to see. We talked about this on the pregame show. We have to be physical in the trenches. If we're going to be playing in the SEC, we have to be physical in the trenches. Before I get to that, I don't know if I got to total yardage. We allowed 197 total yards. That was 128 passing on 25 attempts. That's only a 5.1 yard average on passing attempts. On pass completions. So 5.1 yards on average that we allowed, and 69 rushing yards on 36 attempts, which is just under 2 yards a carry. So we did absolutely amazing there. But anyways, getting back to Dominic Williams, pressuring in on the interior line every single play. And you know what? I even have this written down, and I didn't put this in my notes. It's in separate notes because, I'm a cluster like that. Snap counts for the Sooners D-line. I want to start off with this. We had Ethan Downs, 34 snaps. R. Mason Thomas, 32 snaps. Grayson Halton, 22 snaps. Trace Ford, 21 snaps. Dominic Williams, 19 snaps. Jaden Jackson, 18 snaps. David Stone, 17 snaps. And I don't think I have him on my notes, so I'm going to give David Stone a shout-out right now. That dude got triple-teamed and shoved 3 guys back several times. Go back and look at the tape. That guy, he's a freshman, guys. David Stone is a freshman. There's a reason why he had that 5-star tag. He was outstanding. He didn't get back there much. His name didn't get called much, if at all. I can't remember for sure if he even got credited with a tackle or even partial tackle. But they were trying. They knew who he was. They recognized that guy. They triple teamed him several times, and he was pressing through and driving guys back. He is scary. But going on, we've got Devon Sears, 17 snaps. DJ Terry, 16 snaps. Caden Woolard, that's another guy that I didn't have written down for shout-outs, but shout out to him. He stood up big there at the end. He had 14 snaps. Adebawore, he had 13 snaps, and Ashton Sanders with 9 snaps. I wanted to put that in my notes, and I forgot to, so I got to it anyways. But, yeah, that defensive line, you're absolutely right, William. That defensive line looked amazing, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I loved what we saw on the defensive line. Another guy, Jaden Jackson. We questioned if he was going to be a star. Let me just check that box. He is going to be a star. Jaden Jackson, one of those underlooked guys that BV had faith in. He put him out there as a starter this week. I don't know if he's going to stay as a starter. We don't know yet. We're going to have depth chart changes from week 1, 2, and 3. Week 4, you're going to see the set depth chart. But regardless, Jaden Jackson has to play this year. Jaden Jackson and David Stone. I feel like David Stone has to play this year because of what I saw from him, the way he was bullying. So these young guys, that's what I like to see. Brent Venables is recruiting guys that fit his scheme, and I absolutely love that. So yeah, 100%. Jaden Jackson, Dominic Williams in the middle, and then David Stone. Man, I absolutely loved what I saw from them. And I see Mars Jams. He's down there in the chat. What's up, man? Sooner, by the way. I see that you said that, and you kind of threw in there Sanders. Absolutely. And I also see Thurman. N. Thurman, he says teamwork helped Grace Halton, 2 sacks, 22 snaps. And yeah, I mean, guys, all of this, all of this D-line, this entire D-line, everybody that stepped in deserves a shout-out. I'm probably not going to get to all of them, but I do have a couple of other guys I'll mention here in just a second. But going on in that cheetah role, man, we talked about Kendall Dolby. I was so excited to see him in that cheetah role. He was all over the field. He was lined up all over the field, and he was all over the field after snap. The dude was just electric. He loves getting sacks more than anything. Sacks are what he strives for, and he got in the backfield, and he was so close on so many of them. He played elite. If I had to pick out a guy that was the best defender on the field, Billy Bowman probably, because it just seemed like he was not missed anywhere. He was on point every single play. So Billy Bowman was number 1, but Kendall Dolby, number 2, right there at that cheetah roll, right up there with Billy Bowman. A+ effort from him every single play. And the thing that I love the most is his desire to destroy that offense. Not just go in there and get a tackle, not just go in there and, make sure you have a good play, but if that ball is anywhere near me, I want it. Because we couldn't stop laughing. Me, Jay, and then his co-host Cooper, we were all sitting there together and just laughing because we could not stop. Every time we would see the replay come back up of Kendall Dolby getting in there, getting the tipped pass, and then getting ticked off because he had it in his fingertips and he wanted that pick, and he was still over there throwing a fit when Kenai Walker ended up picking it off behind him, running out on the field, and all of a sudden he looks up like, why is everybody still celebrating, and why are they celebrating with him? I'm the one that got my hands on it. Oh, wait, we got the ball? All right. So, that was absolutely amazing, and the reason why I love seeing him throw a fit like that is because he wanted that ball. They were swarming to the ball every single play. There was some slipped tackles that we need to clean up. You need to make sure you bring the guys down. But some of these slipped tackles were because this defense was just going after the ball. They were trying to strip the ball. I love that. So Kendall Dolby, one of the biggest guys, he was in the backfield. If he didn't get a sack or if he didn't get a tackle for a loss, he was this close to getting it every single time. So every play that I saw him out there, he was working 100% effort, and I love that from Kendall Dolby. He is going to be an amazing cheetah roll. So, he absolutely deserves it. And then, of course, Kenai Walker, who got that interception. It felt like he was all over the field nonstop as well. I just felt like every time that I would look around, he was right next to the tackle or in the tackle every time. So Kenai Walker, another guy that Brent Venables even had some very high praise for. Him and Jaden Jackson both got some high praise from Brent Venables a lot throughout fall camp, and it showed. So yeah, absolutely. Those are some of the defensive starters that I wanted to give a shout out to because they played amazing games. So absolutely, I think that defense was so fun to watch. Let's go to some of the reserves on defense real quick. We had Jaren Kanak, both on defense and filling in that linebacker role as a young linebacker. I loved it. I think every single play, I felt like he was zoned in. He was finding the holes to fill. If he wasn't a part of the tackle, he was just outside of it, making sure that whoever it was going to go down. Just every play, I felt like he did really well. And of course, he had that big scoop and score for a touchdown. Lewis Carter poked it free, and then he got in there. So shout out to Lewis Carter as well, because we had a couple of slip tackles on that punt return. And I'm trying to think. I think it was Robert Spears-Jennings comes down and kind of slipped and fell. Couldn't quite get back there. That was disappointing to see. But then you have Lewis Carter come in there and poke that ball free. Jaren Kanak with the heads-up scoop and score. So, huge shout-out to him as well, because that was super fun. And, he just seemed to be flooding to the ball everywhere on the field when he was playing on defense as well. So, love to see Jaren Kanak in there and doing an amazing job. Anyways, going on, we've got Grayson Halton. I think I might have seen somebody throw that in the chat, but Grayson Halton was a guy. He was a difference maker for sure. Putting Temple in the backfield and putting them behind the chains very early in the game. So he was huge. I did not expect that big of a showing from Grayson Halton, but it seemed like he could not be stopped. If he wanted to get in that backfield, he was getting back there. And we put a lot of pressure on their QB. Their QB looked terrible. And part of that was probably inexperience, but the other part of that was just simply that our D-line was pressing through the middle, and the outside guys were pressing in on the outside nonstop every play. And then Kendall Dolby pressing from the outside as a fast dude, getting in there, that cheetah roll. I love it, guys. I love that cheetah roll so much. We're gonna see, and we're gonna talk about him much more. But anyways, Grayson Halton, shout out there, and then Michael Boganowski. We don't have a whole lot of plays that we can look at for Michael Boganowski, but there was one, and he was making some attempts. He was making sure to make himself seen on the field, but he had that huge hit in I think the third or fourth quarter that the entire stadium reacted to. If you know what I'm talking about, go back and look at that clip. I might have shared that on X. If you follow me over there, you can scroll through if you have a hard time finding it. And I'll try to repost that here right after the stream. But he had that big old hit, and oh my gosh, yeah. And I see N Thurman. He says he hit a group tackle so hard that almost hurt himself. Yeah, man, that was crazy. It was loud, and you couldn't hear it on TV as well as everyone else heard it. Go in there and just listen to the audio. You don't even have to watch. You can hear it pop, and then you hear the entire stadium. Ooh, it was phenomenal. I loved it. I love to see the aggression. All right, so it was absolutely amazing. I see Reed jumped in there. He said, "Yeah, on the pre-show, I said I wanted to see them put pressure on the QB, and they did. Yeah, absolutely, man. They did. They got back there. They got pressure. That was one of those key things that we need to be physical in the trenches, get back there and get pressure, and they did. I don't think there was as many sacks as I was hoping for. I think I was hoping for 5 or 6, if I remember correctly, and we might have been just below that. I can look that up real quick, just because I'm not sure, and I don't want to dog on them if that wasn't the case. So let's pull this up real quick. We had the Temple game. Let's go into the stats. We're gonna have to go over to here and go to Oklahoma, not Temple. I don't care how many Temple got. Temple did get too many sacks, and we're gonna get to the offensive line here in just a second too. But defensive sacks. We ended up getting 6. Okay, so we met my expectations. It didn't feel like we got as many sacks, but we got pressure almost every single pass play. So happy with that. Can't complain. And we met my expectation. I think I said 5 or 6. And we exceeded my expectations on turnovers. One more shout out on defense. Unless you guys have any more, make sure to throw that down in the chat. I'll try to get to it. We had Kobe McKenzie on defense. This guy, he looked really good. He looked like he has improved so much as far as football IQ. And, he looks like he's made a lot of progression in fall camp. He looked really good, kept himself in good position all game long. And I really love to see that young linebacker play. Him and Jaren Kanak both, man. I'm excited. I'm really happy that both these guys are stepping up big when we know that, when we know that we've got Danny Stutzman leaving after this year. He almost left us this past year. He thought again, came back. So we love to see Danny Stutzman back, but the fact that he's back and we've got some young guys stepping in, making some big plays, I absolutely love it. Mars, you said starting corners. I don't really have anything great to say about the starting corners. Gentry Williams seemed to play his role, and it looked like he did pretty well whenever he stepped in there. And then Woody Washington's going to be a starter. He didn't really play much, if at all. I'm trying to remember if I saw him at all. But the corners didn't really have to do much. And so I just didn't really have anything great to say about them, but I think they played their role. So I would assume Gentry Williams, if he can be healthy, Gentry Williams and Woody Washington are going to be the starting corners. That's my opinion. Woody Washington for sure will be a starting corner, and he'll be moved around the field, most likely. But anyways, guys, defensive play, almost an A+. I mean, like I said, I think a scoring touchdown is what puts you to that A+ column for me. And I'm seeing others kind of dogging the defense a little bit because they allowed three points and almost 200 yards. Get out of here with that crap. I don't have time for it. But let's jump over to the offense. The offense was the one that I think I've seen most concern about. How do you guys feel about the offense? Because I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on what you felt about them, because ultimately, here's the stats: 378 yards. That was our total yardage. And 158 passing yards, 220 rushing. You have to be happy about that. Rushing, we were talking about that in the pregame show. For those of you who were joined in on the pregame show, 220 rushing yards. And so we passed it 29 times, ran it 26 times, kept it very balanced. That was really awesome to see. And on top of that, 220 rushing yards. That's what you want to see every week. So if we can keep on doing that, I felt like early it didn't seem like we were getting as many big gaps, and we didn't have a bunch of holes to run through. And then another part of that too, you have to realize, like I said, Brent Venables was teaching these guys all week, like telling them, hey, we're not trying to break tackles this week. We're trying to stay healthy. So when you get hit, I want you just to go down. And unless unless it's an easy slip, just go down. If you're getting hit, don't sit there and bulldoze through the line. Don't sit there and do something that's going to get you hurt. So don't be too concerned for the fact that the run game started off a little slow because it turned around. And you know what? We're going to get to some guys here in a second and talk about them, because we got some young guys to look out for over on offense. But ultimately, this offense was very meh, and that's okay. That's what the game plan was. We kind of talked about that. We're probably going to just run the clock, just try to get in and out of this game because we know we're going to win. And guess what? We covered. We covered the spread. That's all that matters. It was a 42.5 point spread. We covered it. So that's all that matters. If you're a betting man and you were able to put a bet in on that, congratulations. We cashed out on that one, guys. But some standout starters for week one, anyways. I've got one, Jackson Arnold. Jackson Arnold, I think he looked great. I saw some people dogging the fact that he didn't make a connection down the field. First off, I feel like J.J. Hester had some drops that were a concern. I didn't like the fact that he dropped a few. He had one deep one that hit him perfect, and he dropped it. And then Jackson Arnold had one bad pass that I would say. So I'll say two bad passes the entire game. He had one that he threw behind Deion Burks that ended up getting him hit really hard. So he's got to be more careful of that. Make sure you've got to see if your guys getting set up. And if you toss that to him out in front of him, he doesn't get hit like that. And I think he probably gets around the defender just fine. But, Jackson Arnold, he looked really good. He was on point. Another one was a deep bomb to Brendan Thompson down the left side of the field towards the north end zone. And he put it out there. Brendan Thompson was faster than the defender. He was out in front of him. You've got to put that out in front of him. It just wasn't a good pass. It was back behind a little too much, and Brendan Thompson couldn't connect on that one. Outside of that, we only threw it down the field, and I'm talking 20-plus yards. We only aired it out 20-plus yards 4 or 5 times the entire game long. So, you know what? We threw a lot of in the middle of the field, very short passes. Some of those were flip passes. And kind of a jet sweep across. So, you know what? Jackson Arnold, he looked really good. He was super consistent. He didn't throw an interception. He didn't fumble the ball. We didn't have any turnovers on offense. That is something to be extremely excited about, extremely happy about. And you know what? Jackson Arnold was very efficient when driving down the field. And you know what? That's all that matters. And so that's all that we were looking for in this game. We didn't need to see that deep bomb right now. We don't need to see that right now. Let's hold that back. And you know, another thing on that offense, they put Zion Reagans out. This is just to prove that we're not looking for the deep ball. They put Zion Reagans out there, and I was like, oh, okay, he wasn't even listed on the depth chart, but they're going to put him out on the field. Number 81. He put him down on the outside of the field, close up, some press coverage, and the safety ended up dropping over. So they dropped in on press coverage and put the safety out in the middle of the field. All right, I'm excited. We're going to see Zion Reagans blow past him and go deep. Instead, they put him on a little comeback route, a little hook route, curl route, whatever you want to call it. And they end up passing a little bubble or a screen, something over there to Deion Burks. You know, man, I wanted to see that so bad, but that's not what our game plan was. So Jackson Arnold, he did what he was supposed to do. He did a great job. Two bad passes the entire game that I can say, hey, you can fix this. But he didn't throw it into coverage. He didn't put it in a position where we thought he was going to get picked off. He played an outstanding game. So good job, Jackson Arnold. Another guy that we got to shout out over on the starting lineup for the offense, Deion Burks. This guy, we've been talking about him. I know I've been talking about him. I know several others have been talking about him. I know you guys wanted to see Deion Burks and what he's truly made of. We knew that when we saw him in the spring game, there's something special here. And everything that we saw in fall camp from highlights, or if you were able to see any of the fall camp, everything was just, we knew that Deion Burks was going to be sure hands that we can go to. And the first play of the game, we did a little reverse to Deion Burks. He couldn't quite get on the outside. Good job to Temple for catching onto that one. Deion Burks was great. He didn't have a ton of yards. I think he only had 34, 37 yards, something like that. But he had 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns in your first game in Norman. That was absolutely amazing. That was actually the most receiving touchdowns by a receiver in an opening game for the Sooners in OU history. So that was awesome to see. I loved seeing him get involved. I loved seeing the chemistry come to fruition in an actual game. So Deion Burks, shout out to that guy. He's going to be electrifying all season long. He's going to be one of those Biletnikoff Award candidates, one of those guys we're going to be watching. And he put it off to an early start with 3 touchdowns. So, we've been talking about it. We finally got to see it. Another guy was Bauer Sharp, that tight end. He's our starting tight end, guys. He was all over the field. They put him out wide even, and I love to see that. The only criticism I have for Bauer Sharp, buddy, you're not a speed guy, okay? So don't try to run east and west. There was a couple of times when he could have lowered that shoulder. You're a big dude. You're a tight end. Lower that shoulder and get upfield, get that first down. Same thing goes to Brendan Thompson. I was underwhelmed with Brendan Thompson's route running. Overall, I was expecting more because I heard a lot of improvement from him from route running. He's still fast, and we can still use him. I think he's going to be just fine. He looked like a young wide receiver, but he had one, too, where he came across, should have just get upfield and get that first down. Instead, you put us into a 4th down situation. So there was a couple of times where those 3rd downs, the reason why we got forced to 4th down was because Bauer Sharp was one of them, and then Brendan Thompson was another one, where they just didn't get upfield. And Bauer, you're a big dude. You're not a speedy guy, all right? That's okay. That's why we brought you into Oklahoma, is to be a big guy. So lower that shoulder, get forward, get upfield. But other than that, sure hands and a big target across the middle. And he found open spots for Jackson Arnold when he needed it. So I loved it. I love seeing Bauer Sharp. But to dog on some guys, let's get over to that offensive line. Specifically Febechi Nwiwu, as I believe is how you pronounce his name. So Febechi, he didn't play very well. And I'm not trying to dog you. I'm not trying to talk down on you. That's okay. You have to improve, though. You have to recognize that this was not a good game. Him and Spencer Brown might have been the worst offensive linemen to step in. He's the reason why they got some sacks. Spencer Brown was a big reason of it, and I believe Febechi Nwiwu, Wiwu was one of them. The N is silent, and I don't want to pronounce it with a silent N. I honestly want to say Nwewu. I think that sounds better. But you know what? I'm going to try to pronounce it the way that even his mother says to pronounce it. So, man, like, I know you guys are good, both Fabechi and Spencer Brown. I know both of you guys are good, and I know both of you guys are capable of playing in an offensive line for the Oklahoma Sooners. We have to see better blocking from you guys. Those were the two that, you know what? You guys are professional athletes now, all right? You guys have the opportunity to get paid as players now. I'm going to be critical, okay? I'm not gonna mince words. I know it's always been a thing that you don't talk down and you don't talk crap. You don't call out a college player because he's just a student. No, you guys are professional players. I'm going to call you out, but it's because I want to see you guys get better, all right? And I have faith in these guys to improve. We have to see it next week against Houston. We have to see it the week after that against Tulane. We have to have this offensive line looking good. Some bad news is that Branson Hickman did come out with an injury. I haven't heard much more on that. Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he's able to be recovered because we need him. We definitely need him in. And then we also had Jaleel Farouk, which was another guy I wanted to shout out on offense, and I think I forgot to shout him out. But Jaleel Farouk had a great game, looked really good until he came out with a broken foot. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. Terrible news. He has to have surgery. So I hate to hear that about him. But anyways, back to that offensive line. We need some work, guys. Not going to lie. I don't think there was a single offensive lineman that I looked at that I said that looked like an offensive lineman for the University of Oklahoma. It didn't look good. And I don't like what I saw from the offensive line. We have to look better. We have to look better. And yeah, Mars, you're right. Michigan State fans told us on Twitter about Brown. Yeah, Spencer Brown, he came from Michigan State. I really had higher hopes from him, and I know he's capable of it because I know what I've heard from coaches, and I know what I've heard from other players in practice, and that they're high on this guy. They're high on Fabechi Nwewu. Wewu. I'll try to get it right. One of these times, my brain will not correct me, and I'll just be able to say it properly. But anyways, I know that every single one of these guys that we've got coming in, even Michael Tarquin, I think he kind of let up some pressure sometimes. So this offensive line, that is the biggest one. All right, we need some improvement there. Coach B, we love you. Coach Biedenbaugh, you are the guy that's going to fix this offensive line. And if there's one guy that we had to pick out of anyone in the entire country, Coach Biedenbaugh, that is the guy that we're going to put our trust in. We just need to see it. We need to see it this upcoming week against Houston. Make sure to tune in later on in the week. I'm going to have my guy Jay Smith from Unfair Sports, and he's also with Locked On Sooners. He's going to come on. We're going to try to get some content out to talk about that a little bit and what to look forward to against Houston. But anyways, let's go to some of the standout reserves there on offense. We had Sam Franklin. Sam Franklin was awesome. I loved seeing what we saw from him. He's a dog. He's got some speed in him. He saw some open some open holes as well, and really took advantage. He's not super fast in that top speed, but man, that acceleration and bouncing through those holes and getting away from a guy just to get some separation. We saw him take off for a couple of big gains. I love to see that. He's a killer. He's a killer for sure. Another guy at running back that we loved to see out on the field as much as we did, which I totally didn't expect. He came in the first quarter. Taylor Tatum. Tatum came in, and that dude looked good every time he touched the ball. And even off the ball, man, I saw him step back into some pass coverage, I believe. If memory serves me correctly, he even stepped back in some pass coverage and helped out back there. So Tatum is a guy to look out for. We do have some competition overall. Javonte Barnes and Sawchuk are going to be the top dogs. I don't think that's going to go away. And Javonte Barnes looked pretty good overall. I think he was probably the best back outside of Taylor Tatum, but Taylor Tatum had more looks. So, yeah, I mean, it was, I think, number one, after what I saw, RB number one would be Javonte Barnes. RB number two would be Taylor Tatum. And number three would be Sawchuk, I guess. But we didn't see much from Sawchuk. So I'm not going to dog on him. And like I said, guys, remember in those first two quarters and even early into the third quarter, Brent Venables wanted these guys to go down, don't get hurt. Just go down. If you're getting tackled, don't try to break tackles. Don't try to slip tackles unless it's an easy one. So that's why I'm not going to dog these guys too much. But Taylor Tatum and Sam Franklin looked amazing. And I see Del Cent comes in the comments. He says Taylor Tatum should be RB number 1. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you, man. I'm not going to disagree with you. He looked good. I loved what I saw from him. But let's just hold off on some of that talk right now, because man, it's only because he's a freshman that I'm reserving myself on him. All right, I want to give him some time, and I want to keep him around, guys. I want to keep him around for a long time. I want to see him 4 years. But I think from what I saw, I think he's talented enough that we're only going to have him for 2 or 3 years, and he's going to be on to the league, guys. I mean, he was a dog. And I see Caleb Hicks. Caleb Hicks, I believe he played a little bit. If I remember right, I think he came in for a couple of snaps. Not much, but I might be wrong. Don't quote me on that one. I was also wrong, guys, on the pregame show. Apparently, Nick Anderson did have a hamstring injury. I found that out literally right after the live stream, so apologies for not catching that before hopping on Friday afternoon. But anyways, going on to another guy that we saw over on the offensive reserves, Michael Hawkins. Guys, we are stacked in that QB room. I'm happy about this. I'm not upset one bit. You know what? If something doesn't work out with Jackson Arnold, we know for a fact that Michael Hawkins is a dude. He reminds me of Kyler Murray with size. He is fast. He is shifty. He can slip tackles, somehow create magic out of nothing. This is Kyler Murray with size, which is the only thing that people had to criticize about Kyler Murray. If Kyler Murray was 6'3", people would be like, "Oh, hey, what's up with this dude?" You know, I like that guy. I absolutely love it. Yeah, I mean, it was great. Yeah, Mars, I believe Sawchuk 1, Barnes 2. That's what's going to be the depth chart, and I agree. We're going to have 4 or 5 backs to switch between this year, and you're going to see 4 or 5 backs. I guarantee it. So that's something to look forward to. But Michael Hawkins, I loved to see it. I think that was really fun. And then I see Dale comes back in. He says, "Do you think Caden Helms can get some meaningful play time, or have they recruited past him?" Right now, no. Right now, as it stands, I don't think he's going to get some meaningful play time. I don't think they've recruited past him just yet, though. And if you're on the Oklahoma roster, they want to. If you are on the roster this year and you're not getting play time this year, they're talking to you and say, "Hey, we want to see improvement this year. While we're not playing you, we want to see improvement this year." And then next spring camp, next fall camp, when we see you out there on the field again, we want to be able to put you on the field, all right? So prove to us that we should put you on the field. So no, I don't think it's out of the realm. I don't think they've recruited past them or anything. So you know, I want to see them progress. I want to see him progress. I want to see them help him progress and get him moving. William, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. I think I remember seeing you in the comments before. He's a Vols fan, and he's hitting that like button. So you know what? He's dogging you guys as Oklahoma fans. He's a Vols fan, and he hit that like button before all of you. I think he was the first one in here too. I think he was waiting on the stream to start. So huge shout out to you, man. I'm excited about that Volunteers game, and I'm hoping they go 11-1, man. I'm hoping the Volunteers go 11-1. But no, I love it. Absolutely, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're already subscribed, if you would, just do us a huge favor, because we're growing and we love the growth that we've seen, but it feels like in the last week we've kind of hit a wall. So if you guys would help us get over that wall, help us get past this little barrier, and share it on social media real quick. Just share the channel on social media. Share it with one friend at least. At the very least, share it with a Sooners fan, and just let people know. Let people know where to go for not just Sooners content, but we're trying to build a community. We're going to do things like live call-ins, things like that. We didn't have that set up today either. I don't know what's broken with our system, but it keeps on wanting to take that link down as soon as we get it going. So once we get that fixed, we're gonna be back in here. So. Yeah, I mean, and then Mars even says, watch Oklahoma and Tennessee fans party hard. And then Dell also says, just subbed and liked. Dell, I appreciate you. But again, guys, let everybody know. Hit that notification bell if you want to know when we do have new things uploaded, and whenever we go live, because it's not a for sure thing yet. We don't have a set schedule yet. We're trying to see what time frames work best, and we don't really have that data just yet. So, guys, we thank you all so much for your support. go down in the merch shop as well. That link is down in the description. Check out the merch shop. We've got much more. If you guys have other suggestions, feel free to send them over to me and DM me on X, formerly known as Twitter, or you can also email me at SoonerSpotlightPod@gmail.com. Either me or my producer will check that out. We'll be able to see that. So, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. This was our recap reactions show. We're going to do this at least on the day after each game, which is on Sundays. This weekend, we did it on Sunday because there was so much college football for me to watch on Saturday. So, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned. Go follow me over on X, formerly known as Twitter. I will keep you guys updated on everything on the show, and then so much more. So I appreciate you guys all so much for all the love, all the support you guys shown. You guys have a good one.